Welcome to our third annual DirtFish Women in Motorsport Summit. This is our biggest and best event yet. This year we were joined by incredible women in motorsport from all around the world, all converging to share their experience, advice, and their stories. These three women have each made a massive impact on young women around the world, and I am lucky enough to get to sit down with Michèle Mouton, Pernilla Solberg, and Becs Williams. To my right on the stage is Michèle Mouton, absolute rallying legend. She is the first and only woman to have ever won a WRC round, and she didn't stop there, she won 4. She is also the FIA safety delegate for the WRC and founded the FIA Women in Motorsport Commission. To her right is Pernilla Solberg, who has occupied almost every role in rallying. She has competed as a driver, a co-driver, a team manager, and just a week before our summit was named the WRC Commission President. Becs Williams is joining us at this event for the very first time. You know her as the voice of the WRC, or if you've been sticking around for her 20-plus year career, you also heard her begin in rally radio. She's been inspiring young women all around the world, and we get to hear some of those amazing stories today.
I started single-seater racing, Formula 4. Jenson Button was racing Formula 4 at the time, and then British touring cars, and then I started to work within rally, and something just exploded in my brain because it was an onslaught of everything that I absolutely loved, and it kind of harked back to when I was younger, and that's how I got started in rallying, and that was back in 1999. And I'm only 29 now, so I was a very young starter.
I think my story is very different from yours because I had a family who was all in motorsport. My dad was a driver, my uncles, and my mom was his co-driver, so my dad's co-driver. So I had it all around me. And I also come from an area where we were so lucky to have both the International Rally Sweden and we also had Rallycross. But then when I was 16, my dad got a Volvo historic Amazon as a gift, and I started to be his co-driver, and that's how I got it. So, and I'm still in. I'm also just 29. So
it's amazing, and we're all 29 here. It's quite incredible.
Yeah.
And we've achieved so much in such a short space of time.
Becs.
Yes. Yes, Josie.
Tell me what it's been like engaging in the WRC world when you entered the WRC to now. How have you seen it progress, and how do you feel your role has shifted?
My role has shifted a lot. So when I first started in the WRC, there were minimal female journalists. So when I say minimal, it was me and one other lady, and that was it. But it didn't, at the time, it didn't matter to me so much. I wanted to be the best journalist I could be. It didn't matter that I was female. I didn't have that in my head, really. It's only when people point it out to you later on that you kind of realize that, okay, there wasn't many of us at the time. There are more now, I'm pleased to say. And many people ask me, did I ever feel that I was, because you're in a man's world, as it's always called, well, I want to change that narrative. It isn't a man's world anymore in motorsport. It's different now, and we are driving that change. I never felt in any way, shape or form that I was looked down on. If not by any of my fellow journalists or by any of the drivers, co-drivers, team principals. I remember only one occasion, and it was much later. It was about 2005-06 when Colin Clark came to work with us first. We were doing rally radio at the time, and it was a fan who was asking Colin a question about a Mitsubishi, and he just joined us. And even though he had a rallying background, he was in sponsorship, so he didn't know a huge amount about cars or the drivers. And I remember this fan just directly talking to Colin and asking him a question, and Colin said, I don't know, you'll have to ask her, she knows more than I do. And this guy would not engage with me. He would look at me. And I'm standing there thinking, I am telling you, Jack, because you are not looking at me. And Colin was pretty firm, you know. He was like, look, you know, Emily just, you know, kind of joined the radio, you know, she knows what, you know, what she's talking about. This guy would not. And he's probably the only one over the years that you remember the negative, don't you? You always remember the bad things. And he sticks in my mind because there's been so many positive moments. In terms of how it's changed, my role has changed. I wouldn't say massively. I started in radio, so radio reporting for 10, 12 hours a day. I do that now, but on television. So it's a little bit different that I can see everything that's happening now. When I worked on the radio, I had a timing screen and tracking dots, and that's how I commentated. So it was a lot of imagination. And I won't lie, there was a lot of making a few bits and pieces up as well, just for entertainment. But it's very different now, and there are more women in my role. There are more women presenters, journalists, reporters. I'm humbled by them, I'm flattered by them, and I go bright red whenever anyone ever says it to me, but it's good to know, and it's important that representation is important. It does work.
There was a time then when Oliver, our son, was, you know, at that age that we couldn't travel that much to the events, and to have Becs' voice on the radio, you know, when Peter and they did a rally maybe in New Zealand or far away, and you had these split times at the best, if the tracker was working. And to have that voice, it's just, I always call you, your voice is like the voice of an angel. Just to, it's so good.
My biggest fan.
and to have that, you know, comfort through the radio, it was so important for us at home. And there's been a few moments where something really bad have happened, and you just see all the dots on the tracker, they stop. And you hear Becs on the radio really bravely trying to say, there's something happened, we will come back to you with information. And just to sort of have that, it's been amazing, really amazing. It's meant a lot.
Thank you.
Yes, yes.
And this is exactly what we're trying to do with the summit, right? When we've gotten the chance to speak about it over the last few days, but the representation in and of itself is the peak, you know? Once you see someone doing it, you know that you can too. Michèle, you've said to me, actually after our summit last year, you said to me that you didn't realize that you'd had the impact on people that you found to be true.
Yes, because while you are acting, you are doing something, you know, you think about yourself, you think about what you have to do, and it's just afterwards when, you know, you have the return from people, you know, telling you how good you were, how, you know, all these compliments that I got, and that you said, maybe it has an impact. Unfortunately, we don't have so many women in rallying today, so I don't know if it was really an impact or not.
No, but you have an impact anyway, even if there's no here.
You definitely.
Met so much.
Yeah,
Incredible.
but you know, I am always saying that we had more women in rallying my time than today.
Yeah.
Okay, well then let's get right into it.
Yeah. One-to-one.
We spoke last year a little bit about what we thought the reasons were for not having a higher percentage of women in rally. In America, we are seeing higher numbers of...
It's changing, yeah?
It's changing.
Yeah.
Becs, since we haven't heard your perspective on this yet.
Okay, I have a different kind of perspective because I believe we are seeing more women starting to come in now. We have so many female co-drivers, and that is growing every year. Co-drivers are the brains of the operation, so it's no surprise that women are in that role. Come on! But it is good to see. I mean, from a driving perspective, we're not seeing at the moment the next Michèle Mouton, which I would love to see, because as we all know, Michèle was a complete badass, and we want to see more of that. We want to see more of that. But we are seeing them coming in a co-drive. If we're talking about pure competition right now, because I want to see more women in every sphere. I want to see more female engineers, more female mechanics, every sphere of rallying. But if we're talking purely about competition, we are seeing more women coming into co-driving. I can't tell you why that is, apart from us being brainier, maybe. I don't know. But I would really love to see the next female Michèle Mouton. It's hard. You need to have so many things behind you, and even if you're male or female, getting into the sport of rallying is not straightforward. Any motorsport,
No.
we all know you need some money in your pocket, or you need that pyramid and you need to come in at a FIA Rally Star level, or your ASN, your country's ASN, need to have a good program to be able to catapult people. In France, Rally June is so popular, and it's produced Sébastien Ogier, Sébastien Loeb, Adrian Fourmeau, the latest to get his first WRC podium. He gave 20 euros to be part of Rally June, and that then, he won it, and he got sponsorship the next year and was able to prove himself. And we need things like that for everyone, not just for women, but for men also.
Yeah, but when I said it's less women in rallying today, but it's many more in racing.
Yes.
In racing, we have women in nearly all the discipline, and this has increased a lot.
And when we talk about getting women into all positions, there's a big congratulations due to Pernilla, who was just appointed to a brand new role within the WRC. Tell us about this.
Oh, I'm really, really proud to have been nominated the President of the World Rally Commission, which is in the FIA. You have all the working groups working on, for example, technical regulations from the promoter, with people from the FIA. And
he's happy, he's delighted for you.
Yeah, that's really good.
We want to be part of the commission.
Yes, I have another poll. It's really good. Need more people. And also we have then representatives from tire manufacturers, from safety, and also from the drivers and co-drivers in the sport. So there's a lot of people to sort of look at what regulations to change. But this is very, very new. So I'm really looking forward to that. Really looking forward. Thank you.
When we talk about the stories of not letting anyone stand in your way, Michèle, one of the things we didn't get to last year, Pikes Peak story.
It's a good one.
And I want to hear that.
Yes. So you have to know that Pikes Peak in Colorado, I don't remember how long, it's 20 kilometers, the hill climb. And for the American at that time, it was the first time they could see a rally car with a turbocharged, first time an European, and on top of that, a woman. So it was quite a lot. And the first year I did it with my co-driver, Fabrizia, so they were shocked. We were two in the car. And, but she was so light that I didn't want to learn all the corners. And it's much easier to hear the notes. So, and we finished second overall, so it was already a big shock. And of course we came back. Audi wanted me to come back the following year in '85, and so we were ready. We tested everything. The problem was always to get the turbo according to the height of the hill and everything. And we did the first recce, and before going to the recce, we had a section where we should have a low speed, and I was overspeeding for 5 miles an hour. So I was asked to go in the race director office, and then when I arrived, it was 3 seats with 3 drivers with their kids on their knees, and I was treated like a criminal.
5 miles an hour, though.
5 miles an hour.
Yeah. And so they say, this is not what you have to do. Here you have to respect and everything. I said, okay, you could have killed our son. I said, okay, if you want, maybe we try again. And we try. You drop him on the road, and you will see. You will see that I can stop. I can stop with my car.
We're not promoting.
Okay. Of course, they didn't know. They didn't know about the 4-wheel drive, and so. But the result is that the penalty was $5,000. No problem for Audi. But for me, I was not allowed to be in the car on the starting line. I had to jump in the car, pull the belt on, and start. So, of course, you can imagine that it was no chance. So we thought about what to do. And finally, we invited all the press and the media in the morning before the start. Not before the start, the day before, because the testing was in 2 days. You know, you have the bottom part to Ricky and then the second part. And we invited the media and I said, you know, okay, maybe I am a criminal, but what if I kill myself because I am not on the right condition to start the race? So everything changed and suddenly it was okay. You will be allowed to be in the car, engine on, belt on, but not with any gear engaged. So the mechanic had to push me on the start line and I had to start the race. But they didn't know my character, you know, and all that make me...
And I said, I cannot lose this race. And I won like crazy, and of course I won the race. But this is just between us. When I arrived to the top, because it was some drivers who were saying, you know, with the car she has and everything. So once I finished and I won, I said to the media over there, I said, now if you want, you tell the one who was winning the previous year, you tell him that if he wants, and if he has the ball, I can race him downhill. He didn't fall because, you know, rallying we are used to go up and down and you know, on snow, on ice, and so it was really fun. I was very proud.
So we talk about, we've been talking within DirtFish about what sort of personality traits and aspects of individuals turns them into great team managers. Pernilla.
You have to want to work with people. It's all about people, finding good people to create a great team around you. It doesn't matter how good you are if you haven't got the right team with you. And yeah, I still like that. And I think the same way now for my job in the commission. I want to treat that as a team. That we all do this for the best of WRC, that we try and create something great for the future. So yeah, I just love having people around and creating something.
And is it hard to step back?
For like with Oliver?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's very difficult. It's like you've been in it for so many years, and there's so many times you just want to dig in, like, oh, you see things that the team might not have done yet, but you say, oh, have they remembered now to put in a spare wheel or whatever, you know, drink bottles or things on a work list? Have they checked everything? It's something you have to get used to, and it's not just easy, just being there. Yeah. But now I have another role on the event, another purpose, so that's something I look forward to as well. Then I get more busy, and it's easier to let him drive, and I can listen to you. Listen to Becs instead.
Well, before there was Becs on WRC All Live, there was Becs on Rally Radio,
Yes.
which you started yourself.
No, not completely myself, or not totally myself. Our boss at the time, I worked for a company called the Broadcasting Company. So Greg Strange, Chris Rawes, and myself formed Rally Radio. And that was back in 2002. And Greg was a huge rally man. He loved rallying and he loved broadcasting. He worked for the BBC for many, many years. But he wanted rally to go out to the whole world, because, you know, you'd have the events that would be very closed off to live broadcasts. You know, it was only radio at the time that was alive in any sense. All the television footage came a week later. So, you know, you didn't know, you knew what happened on a rally, but you didn't see it until much later. And he decided to create Rally Radio. And I remember him telling me the idea about it in 2002. He said, we'll have a radio station. It'll broadcast every single hour of every day on a rally. And, you know, 4-day events. And he said, we need a host, we need someone to talk for 10, 12 hours a day. We'll have some reporters at the stage end. I'm like, oh yeah, this sounds really good. Who are you thinking to host it? And he went,
you. And I went, are you insane? I can't talk for 10 hours a day without seeing anything, just not making things up, that's wrong, but, telling a story, but just through times and maybe guessing what's happened to drivers if they've lost 10, 20, 30 seconds. But yeah, we managed to do it. Rally Monte Carlo 2002 was the first rally radio, and it was a baptism of fire. I will never forget it as long as I live. It was craziness, but it worked. And I remember we set up an email address to go with the radio, and we thought we'd put it out there. We were telling everyone on the radio, email us at this address, and nothing was coming in. We're like, oh, no one's listening. And then our technical director realized that he hadn't actually activated the email. So once he'd activated it, all these emails started coming in from all over the world. And it was so invigorating and really, it got the adrenaline going to know that people were listening. And they were like, this is amazing. We can hear drivers because we did interview drivers. We can hear everything live. And that was where it started in 2002. And it moved on. And then I left Greg's company a little bit later on in 2012. Colin and I worked together on Rally Radio for many, many years. And we took it as far as we could. And then All Live came in, and the ability for everyone to see every stage live, to see onboards, to see drivers being interviewed live, took over from the radio then.
But I still miss the radio.
There's something magical about the radio because you have to use your own imaginations as well as us using our imaginations. And I think there's something really special about the radio. And okay, it wasn't maybe as professional as it could be at times. There was a lot of random chat, when we were filling time, but people like that. People like a bit of random stuff.
Absolutely.
So,
absolutely. And so now there's so much coming in. I mean, there was nothing. There was dots on a map.
Yeah.
And now you've got the helicopters,
Yep.
you've got the drones, you've got the cameras, you've got the interviews, you've got the action, you've got the user-generated content. I mean, is it almost, which one's harder?
It's really hard to say, but I know that when we started in Monte Carlo and I had all of these images coming in, I couldn't speak because I'd never seen it all. I'd seen it, but not as it was happening. And I remember the producer saying into my ear, "Are you there? Are you there? Say something." And I was like, "Oh yeah, I need to talk." Like, oh, yeah. But it really does take you in, and it can be mesmerizing, especially Rally Sweden that we've just done now. Watching the cars through snow, you can just sit there and say nothing as a commentator, and sometimes it's a good thing not to. We listen to the co-drivers, they're our third commentator. There's two of us in the booth, but our co-driver is our third commentator. And I think it's probably, they're both as difficult as each other, but I've never found them difficult, either the radio or the television. It's my passion and I love it. So sitting down and talking to, I don't want to think about how many hundreds of thousands of people are watching because I wouldn't be able to speak if I thought about it, is not a problem for me because I love it. And I love being now here with everyone today talking about rallying. We could do this probably for another good 6 hours and I would be happy. I'd probably need a bathroom break at some point, but yeah, I think when you have a passion for something, it's not difficult, is it? It's not, I wouldn't say it's not work because we work very hard. And at the end of a rally weekend, we've been discussing this, haven't we? Come a Monday after a rally, no one wants to say anything to anyone for 24 hours. Like, don't talk to me, I'm exhausted.
Yeah.
Yes, and you've got the audio spectators, right? You've got the audio listeners.
Yeah.
You got to deal with spectators in the Group B era, which was very well known to be the most dangerous era of motorsport by far, of rally by far. And now, as the safety delegate, you see spectators from the other perspective. You used to drive through the crowds, and now you're telling them to move. So tell us a little bit about that.
I never thought one day I will be on this role. Everything can happen. Yeah, today I am responsible for the safety in the WRC. That means, first of all, I represent the FIA in the championship, and so I have to make sure that all the safety measures
are respected and that people are in place. So I go through the stage 30 minutes before the first car with a safety caravan. We are many cars going through, and we looked that people are in place, and I gave the okay to the clerk of the course to allow the stage to start, and mainly that's all. But I am not working alone. We are now having a deputy safety delegate who is also in the race control, and this is a big improvement. And Nicola, who is working with me, is behind the screen, watching all the cars. They have onboard camera, so when the first car starts, we are in radio contact together, so he knows already what is going on the stage when I am going through the stage. Make sure that the WRC is running in the very good condition, because we have cars who are going extremely fast. And so we need to have a sure safety. So it's a very interesting role. I also work, of course, with the organizer to try to improve the level of safety. And so we are working, and I am also evaluating all the stages for new events. Like this year I go to Poland, I go to Latvia to check all the stages. And so it's a quite busy role, and but I like it. I like the challenge, and I like to try to do the best.
And tell us how that contradicts your experience as a driver and the safety aspect. Yeah. The difference.
What do you want to know about Portugal?
Portugal in particular.
Yeah, of course, it's a big difference, because we have a stage, in the championship that I was doing my time. And but when I was landing at the end of the stage, people were closing the road. That means they were middle of the road, closing the road. And you were jumping, and after the jump on the landing, then people were moving. So it was just crazy. But we were used to drive with people around. They were our barrier all the way on the road. They were everywhere. And today, when I arrived there on this jump in my safety car, and people are 30 meters on each side, it's always, I have this image, and it's always, it's always.
That's Faf.
Yeah, Faf.
Yeah, it's a very cool place.
But it's a stage where we do 11 kilometers, and you have more than 100,000 people in the stage. So.
100,000.
Yeah, it's insane.
It's crazy.
I think one of the areas where we have most spectators, right?
Yeah, I would.
Portugal.
Yeah, I would say Portugal is probably one of the busiest for spectators, definitely.
Yes.
Pernilla, a little birdie told me that even though you swore off driving for a little while, you were back in a race car last week.
I was, It was so cool. I got to drive Oliver's Rally 2 car and doing some promotion filming for his new sport quadrant. And they wanted originally Petter to do this, but he couldn't. So they said, I think it would be cool if you did this. And I said, yeah, sure. I haven't driven for 23 years last year. That was the last car I had was a Mitsubishi Evo 6 Group N. And I did the rally then a few stages in the summer last year. That's what I've done for 23 years. I said, I've never driven this car in and out of the workshop, yes, loading it on a trailer, but not on a stage. I said, you're joking, you have to think differently. I said, no, but it would be really sad if we can't. And there comes this a big crew from the UK. And I felt so bad. I said, oh my God, am I gonna ruin, they can't film. I said, and I said to Oliver, you know what, you have to just persuade them to think differently. He said, no, we can't. I think it could be fun for you, Mom. I said, fun for me? Maybe it will be hilarious for you, but I don't know. So I said, okay, Oliver, jump in the co-driver's seat. I'll drive it up to the test area, 50 k's on the main road, and we'll see just to drive it. And yeah, so I did. I put the ALS on. I did a proper start, launch. I think you will maybe see it soon, but it was really cool. Really, really fun.
You enjoyed?
I loved it. I really loved it.
So
will
could
start
we see
again.
this more often
He
then?
said, Mom, you could do this WRC Masters, you know, that would be nice. No, it was fantastic.
That's a
just to
great
see-
idea.
It is, isn't it?
WRC Masters.
Yes, yeah.
Come in and do that.
No, it was incredible. And also to see how the cars have changed then since my Mitsubishi until today. A lot of, with the sequential gearbox and the engine much more powerful, and also all the safety equipment just to get into that car. It was fine to get in, but I couldn't get out. I got stuck, you know, you have this hybrid system and you had to try. It was so unelegant. It looked so bad, but I drove. It was fun.
I couldn't get on this chair, so, don't worry. Don't worry.
It was
You're okay.
really, no, I felt really bad, but I got out eventually. They dragged me out. No.
But who was faster?
I don't know. Of course, Oliver.
On the first lap?
Of course, yeah.
I reckon if she'd had a few more runs.
I don't believe it.
We'll see.
So what is it like, Pernilla? You've had a family of motorsport. Both Petter and Oliver have actively competed at the highest level. I imagine you're so proud, but beyond that, how does that feel?
I'm of course really, really proud of both of them, what they both have achieved. But for us, it's like, this is our life. I don't know anything else. And I understand that it might look, different from outside, but for us, it's just what we love doing. And we are, both Petter and I now feel really blessed to be able to follow Oliver on his journey. His dream is, of course, to come back into a Rally 1 car, to do this for a long time. But we know how difficult it is, and we know the ups and downs of this sport. It's not always easy. He's had a few experiences where it's been very difficult. Last year was a year of joy again, to see that happiness coming back to him. It was really a big relief as a parent. And then again this year with another great support by Skoda in a Rally 2 car. But he's just so happy, and to see that for your kid, it's just amazing. And then if we can follow, not just more and more as parents, trying not to interfere, it's nice.
And speaking of pride, I have one more question for Becs for now, and then I'm going to turn it to all of you. So start thinking about your life-changing questions.
No pressure, everyone.
It's just a journalist up here. It's okay, a reporter. Becs, speaking of pride, I'm interested in whether you have an interview that you're the most proud of.
Ooh, that's a great question. So the interviews we do on rallying can be pretty short, obviously, because of time. So a couple of years ago, we started a podcast called WRC Backstories, which is a long-length form podcast where I sit down with various people in the rallying community and talk about how they've got to where they are in their lives. But we go right back to like the early days, school, how they grew up, what the family was like. And I'll be honest, the one I did with Michèle last year, which you all need to listen to, that was spectacular. Just Michèle and I sitting down, hour and a half, nearly 2 hours, going through everything. I loved that. I'm very proud of that. And also, I spoke to Lewis Moyer this January, and to get the stories from Lewis of his time with Carlos Sainz, how they got to meet. And it's so fascinating to me how people get into the sport and how they feel when they're in it. And these podcasts are all about that. So for me, Michèle and Lewis Moyer, definitely the proudest interviews. Yeah.
Cool. Okay, it's your turn. We have an Audi right out there.
You have a brand new driver.
We do.
No, yeah, sure.
Beautiful.
Hi, I just wanted to say thank you so much for being here. You're all a huge inspiration, and I'm just so honored to be here. My question is also for Michèle. I wanted to ask if you would tell us about your first WRC win, or perhaps the win that means the most to you.
So, when you are, trying to progress all the time, each race, of course, the first year you are able to win. It's a big moment. It's a big moment, but at the end, it's a very important moment for yourself. Of course, as a woman, it makes you a big impact. But for me, that was not important. What was important for me that, I got more confidence. And this is what you need. I said, if I was able to win once, why not twice, And so you get this strength, and this was the most important for me.
So my question is for Michèle and Pernilla. Have either of you ever tried another racing discipline like road racing or drag? Have you ever tried any other type of motorsports other than rally?
No.
No, sorry.
Yes, from my side, I try racing. I try racing not because I want it, but because my sponsor was ELF in 70, I don't remember, 75 maybe. They wanted me to go racing. So I spent a long weekend on the racing track with Didier Pironi at the time, Formula One driver, who explained to me how to do and how to drive. So I did the best time I could. And I said, okay, we are done. We go back home. He said, no, tomorrow morning you start again. I said, why? Because you have to drive again. But I said, I will not be able to go faster. So I said, no, this is not for me. This is not for me. And so my answer was, I continue rallying, no way. I turn around and turn around and turn around like this. This was not for me.
So my question is for Becs. I am just about to take my first step into sort of your area, but will be a videographer instead of a radio talker. So I will be seeing everything that I do. But what is some advice that you could give to someone like me?
I think the best bit of advice that anyone going into the media, certainly in rallying, is to make contacts, to be at events, to be doing as much as you can, make friends with people, make contacts.
Keep your mind open, make sure that you're polite with everybody that you meet, and you'll do good things. It's basic advice, but it's some of the best I ever got, and it served me well. And trust yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely, and enjoy what you're doing.
That's great, thank you.
Okay, I did see one aggressively waving brochure. There, yeah, and then we're done. The brochure was like.
So my question is for Becs, because my husband is the driver on our team and I'm the manager. And one of the things I've noticed is that drivers can often be really terrible at interviews. Like they don't know what to say. What are the most common questions you ask that a driver should have some canned answers ready to go? And what are the best answers to those questions you've ever heard?
Oh my God. Wow.
Good question.
Wow. I would say...
Are you taking notes? Do you have your...
Some drivers are much better at interviews than others. And I couldn't possibly share names here amongst us all right now. Tanak is very difficult. I can be, but he can be very good as well. But I think, the important part, especially when you're being interviewed by someone from the media, and many of you who are competitors here will be, is to listen to the question. And one bit of advice I got told years ago was, answer the question as if you're telling your best friend the best story you've ever heard. Be enthusiastic about what you're saying. Don't think too much about prepped and primed questions. Out the door. Journalists come to me and say, I've got a list of questions. I'm like, get rid of them. You need to, as a journalist, you need to listen to what a driver is saying, and a driver needs to listen to what,
the question.
Yeah, exactly. It's organic, it's natural. I think you need to show passion in your responses, and definitely don't give yes or no answers, which some of our guys, when they're like, I want to have my lunch, was it a great day? Did you have a good morning? Yeah. Oh, no! I want details. People want details. We want to hear things, and you want to hear the passion that you all have for the sport. So there's no right or wrong, but always be passionate, and always remember that, this interview might be going around the world, or it might just be going to the local paper. It doesn't matter where it's going. I'll give you an example. Sebastian Loeb, many, many years ago, Rally Norway. He'd won Rally Norway. I think it was the second time we were there, 2009. And he sat on the edge of my desk as I was making notes ahead of a press conference. And he was interviewed by 17 journalists, 17, one after the other after the other. And some of the questions they were asking him, they weren't great. But he responded to every single journalist in a really positive way, as if it was the first journalist. So by the time he got to the last one, it was like it was the first one. He was positive with everybody. He gave interesting answers. And I thought, that is the true sign of a professional, because he's treated the guy that's come in from a small local paper exactly the same as he's treated someone from the BBC. It doesn't matter how far the coverage is reaching or how important the journalist is. We're all important. We're all human beings. We're all exactly the same. And you need to treat everyone with respect. So Loeb was a great example of that, I feel. And I tell a lot of drivers that I media train, you need to treat everyone exactly the same, but always be passionate about what you do.
You are very lucky
helps.
to be a driver.
Yeah, exactly.
So lucky. You're so lucky. And the crew group.
Yeah,
of course.
The amazing part of having these women up here is the wealth of stories and knowledge, which makes it really difficult to wrap this up. Thank you so much for being up here, for answering all these questions, for sharing your stories with us. And we'll be back in here in 25 minutes.
Thank you.